back of the engine on the 6-speed, and this is a bit of a loose end that we hadn't finished off. And what it is, it's the tacho drive. Now there's a little square, and there's a tiny little square that comes in a kit, and the square has to knock up the back of the camshaft. Now we have a replacement camshaft here, and the camshaft is a quality tractor one, quality tractor spares one. And when we went to put the little plug up the back, and this is the back of a camshaft, the old one I was just playing with testing out, and normally it bumps up the end there and you have to get a punch and tap it in. But on the quality camshaft here, look, it was a little bit loose, so we've Loctited that in now, so that should be okay. Now you buy a kit. I'll just pinch this rag from in front of you there. Now there's a kit you can buy, and if your tacho cable thread on the back of the engine here is damaged, you can replace it. Sounds like we've got a Harley going past. They're giving it some anyway. And there's an oil return here, so any oil from around the back of your camshaft comes down through this hole, down past the gasket here, and returns to sump. Now there is a lip seal here, and look, I've just got a disc and I've just put a disc over there and bumped that in, and the rear lip seal, that seals on the back of your cam, so that stops any oil from coming out of this pressurised bearing journal here up your tacho cable. Now if any oil does get past there, there's a tiny little weep hole here. So that little weep hole, it can take oil. It's like a telltale. So if on your tractor you can actually see oil coming out down here, well, most times you don't need to replace the whole lot. You can just pop this seal out. So to replace this seal, we've got a heap of motorbikes going past just as we're filming. Anyway, I remember going that fast on motorbikes. I used to love it. Anyway, I'll fart now. So look, we'll just pop a bit of grease on that gasket there and sit him up there. A little bit of grease on the seal here. Don't be too fussed with what sort of grease you use, don't get carried away. It's just a little bit of grease on the gasket helps it seal, keeps the gasket pliable. So we put this up here, and you're actually looking to feel the seal sit on the shaft. Then once you get there, there's 3 little screws here, and they're just little UNF screws with spring washers on them, so I'm replacing the spring washers on everything as I go. Doesn't cost an awful lot for a spring washer, and some of the old ones are a bit dicky, and they're a bugger to clean up. Whoop, dropped me spanner. I'm back on my squeaky chair, you can probably tell. So a 1/2 inch spanner fits those fellas. So yeah, if you do have a weep down the back here, there's not a lot to replacing that little seal. Now this is an alloy housing. It's a probably muck metal alloy housing. I don't think it'd be made out of anything too exciting. So it has to be tight, but don't over tighten it, or this bit pushes down hard on the gasket and you end up bowing the housing. And look, if your housing is bowed, just replace it. They're not expensive, these kits. This is the same on the 135, 35, most of the little Perkinses. And tachos are available in 1:1 ratio or 2:1 ratio or 1:2 sort of thing. So you'll know the camshaft goes half the speed of the crankshaft. So this goes half the speed and the cable will go half the speed. So the tacho is calibrated for that. So that's it, one little loose end tied up. I'll go and get a little bit of tape now and I'll just put a bit of masking tape over. I've still got the inlet covered and I've still got the plugs up the end of the fuel lift pump here, and when we blow a bit of paint around here, that'll tidy it up. On the cold start here, when you have a look at the airflow of the cold start, I probably should show you over on the multi-power tractor, that cold start mechanism goes right over, and boy does it restrict your airflow through here. And in Queensland, we're a hot climate, we don't need the cold start. If your engine's in any sort of reasonable nick, you never use it, you never glow it. So what I do from time to time, I just put look, I think it's 1/16 UNF plug in here, and that gives you nice airflow. But look, just out of interest, while we're talking about that, I'll take you over to the multi-power and I'll just show you what I'm talking about. Okay, we're over at the multi-power tractor now, and I'll get the torch and look in there at the restriction. So you can't fit your finger through underneath here, and up the top there not much better. So by taking this out, opening that up in a hot climate, it's got to give you better flow, better airflow. So that's what happens on my tractors. So yeah, whether you do that or not, it's up to you. If you're in a cold climate, I suggest you probably don't need to do that, but by the time you have this restriction here for the bolt hole, then I can just fit my finger up in through the top there. It just restricts it a lot. So on mine, my trekking tractor, that's going to be taken out and a standard plug put in.